Hi everybody, this is Russ King. Just here to do a quick tutorial video on the basic controls for Kwik Model. This is just a quick overview. A lot of the specific modes and processes that you can do in the software, we'll have tutorial videos specifically for those. This is, like I said, just a quick overview. So the first thing I want to direct your attention to is the upper right hand corner here. We have edit license, which is where you'll go to start your license. If you want to copy your software, move your license from one computer to another, you can do it there as well. We have an export image button here, which allows you to take a really high-res screenshot of whatever you're looking at on the screen. You can actually specify the resolution and create really, really high-resolution images, perhaps to show a client or make a poster or whatever. Um, so that's features right there. We have save, load, export, and quit. So those are your basic file buttons for saving a file, saving a project, loading a new file or an existing file, I should say. Exporting, you can export to a 3D image, as well as quit is the quitting the software. There's an auto backup button. You can check that or uncheck it as you prefer. Then we have our quick views here, front, left, back, right, and top. So I'm currently in the front view. So this is the front of the house. If I click on top, it will look straight down on top of the house like so. Okay. And then of course, front looks from the front, right looks from the right, back and left, back to front. Okay. Um, Now, if you look on top, and you'll notice the roof of these rooms is closer to you than the floors, and so you see the edge of the roof like that. That's called parallax. If you pull it down um, this way, you can see now you're looking straight down on top of this wall, but this one is more out of line. So parallax is something you have to get used to when you're working with 3D. If for some reason you want to get rid of the parallax and look straight down at a 2D version of the plans, you just click on this 2D view right here, and then the top view, and now you're looking straight down, and it takes away those the angle of the walls and things like that. Okay, so I'll go back to 3D. And this little guy here is just to show you kind of where you are. It's like a dial in an airplane, showing that in this from the angle that I'm looking right now, that up is this way, down is this way, left and right. And you'll notice as I rotate the house, it changes. Okay, and it's just kind of give you an idea of what perspective you're looking from. And then all these slide bars here, except for camera speed, these are opacity slide bars to make things lighter or darker. So you see as I slide this to the left, all the ducts kind of disappear. So you can make it more or less opaque depending on what your needs are. Camera speed is what affects how much you scroll or pan left and right. So if I click here and then move it, you'll see it moves a little faster. If I go more to the right, it moves even faster. If I go all the way to the left, it moves pretty slow. It's less sensitive, if you will. Same thing for zooming and so on. The other thing that's not shown anywhere is kind of secret buttons. It's very common buttons used in video games, and that's if you put your left hand with your middle finger on the W, W, S, A, and D. W pans in, S pans out, zooms, and A pans and D pans to the right. A pans to the left, D right, W zoom in, S zoom out. So it's a little faster than the scroll wheel. As far as your mouse goes, clicking on stuff will select it just like normal. The right mouse will tilt like so. And then the center mouse, which is typically the wheel, if you press on the wheel of the mouse, it pans left and right, sort of slides to the left and to the right, as opposed to the right mouse button, which will pan around like so. If you ever get lost, you hit a button and you go too far, and you're like, oh, where's my house? You just go back up here and hit front, and it'll bring you right back to where you need to be. Okay. All right, so we have down here we have a north arrow, and I'll show you how the north arrow affects your takeoffs here in just a second. And then down here in the bottom right corner, Sorry about the word development build there. That's our version that we use to show um, errors and stuff like that. But underneath there is a button that undoes a delete. So if you delete a room, it's sort of like Control Z, but Control Z doesn't work in this software. I'm surprised how difficult it is to program that in there. But it undoes a delete, like if you delete a duct or something like that, or a window, it'll undelete it. And then this little box here, like I said, the little slide bars are for opacity. I have the roof turned off at the moment. Actually, there's no roof on this plan, sorry. And then the rooms, you can see if I slide it to the right, they get darker and darker, more opaque. If you go all the way to the side, to the right, you can't see through them. If you go all the way to the left, they become just wireframed, essentially invisible, like so. Okay, and so I like to keep them kind of right about there, so you can see through them, see the floor plan, but also be able to tell where the rooms are. Same thing, so the floor plan is this white, looks like a piece of paper down here. You can turn that off and or turn it back on as you prefer. Rooms, you can turn them off completely, turns off all the windows and everything, but it does leave the wireframe to kind of give you an idea where things are. Okay. Um, all right, so that's it for the basic kind of stuff. Let's look real quickly at some of the different modes. So across the top here, you've got all we call these modes, and in the information mode or information window is where you put your project name and things like that. But it also has information about your duct design, your airflow of your system. So you'll put your static pressure here, your total airflow, whatever you picked from your HVAC equipment. You can put your conditioned floor area from the plans, and then as you create the drawing, it'll show you what the drawing has calculated so that you can compare those two. You put your friction rate in here, and then if you want, you can set all ducts to use the same friction rate, or as we'll see in a second, you can go in and set the friction rate for each duct independently if you prefer. Okay, floor plan at the very beginning of a project, you'll import a floor plan, and that's what sets the floor plan that you'll build your house on top of. After you import it, you'll scale it. I'll go ahead and hit scale here, and you'll see these buttons here. You bring these buttons to a known dimension. So, for example, I know this house was 44 feet from front to back, actually from the front of the garage to the back of the house. And so I set it as precisely as you need, and then I type 40 and hit scale, and it'll set that dimension. I've already done that, and so it's already to scale. This grid on the bottom, these are 1 foot squares, so you can use that to align. You can use it to check things. So if this says 8 feet here, it better be about 8 feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, a little bit more because it's 8'4", it looks like. So that helps you double check stuff. Okay, if you need to, for any reason, move the floor plan around, that unlocks it from the base. So if you want your floor plan to line up a little better with the corner of your rooms and so on, there's also a way to stretch the floor plan if you need to move it around or get rid of stuff on the border. We'll have a tutorial video just for that. Okay, next one, field draw. We'll have a tutorial just on field draw. What it does is it allows you to go out to a house, an existing house where you don't have a set of plans already, and basically draw a set of plans from just field notes, measuring the house, the perimeter of the house and the windows and stuff like that, and then you can build the walls inside of that. Room mode is used quite a bit, and it's what allows you to set your rooms and scale them and indicate whether they're unconditioned. You'll notice this garage here is greenish color. That's because I have it set as unconditioned, like so. So I'll turn it back to unconditioned. All right. And these are all conditioned rooms here. So you can put square rooms, triangle rooms for like this little angle right here. This little, actually we call them blocks. This little triangle block here we put there, and that's using this triangle room feature. I'll just set one out here so you can kind of see what it looks like. And they can be scaled to whatever dimension you want. And the green button here makes it taller or shorter if necessary. You can specify your all of your dimensions here. And that reminds me, I forgot to mention something in floor plans. Elevations. So one of the first things you do to a project is set your elevations. So whatever your room heights are, the floor thickness, so this is 6 inch, it's a slab, it's a 6 inch concrete slab. The rooms are 8 feet tall, so that all the rooms you place after that are going to be that height. That's setting your default. You can even specify if you have a heel truss or not, if you have a 1 foot or 2 foot or whatever. These are in increments of feet, so you have to put in there in decimals for feet. If you want to make it a 2-story house, you just hit add a floor and it will put on a second floor. If you want to get rid of it, you take it away like so. Okay. All right, back to room. So go back to room mode. The other thing that it does is vaulted ceilings. So I'll show you how that goes. They're an angled ceiling, and so if I want to put a vaulted ceiling on this garage here, look something like that. You can get it to line up like so. Stretch it out, stretch it across, and then I'll put, so that's if you want to do a peak vaulted ceiling that peaks in the middle, put 2 of these on here, and let's see if I can find the approximate middle here, like so, and stretch it out this way. Now let's make it not quite so steep. So bring it down here, bring it down there. So there you go. I just put a vaulted ceiling. It's not very even, but you get the point. And then what you do is you group them. So you'll see group and ungroup down here. So you see how those are grouped together, and if you move it, they all move together. Notice how the register moves with it in the duct. Okay. So once you build rooms out of blocks, and then blocks are grouped together into rooms. Okay. And then we have a stretchy room for really odd shaped rooms. You can kind of move it around and make it whatever shape you want. You can set your default size. It's comes set at 10 by 10, but if most of the rooms you're placing need to be bigger or smaller, you can set that. The last thing that you do is to make sure that you don't have a room that's not set quite in the right spot. So let's say you had this room slid out a little bit and you didn't notice that there was a gap here. Well, that gap, the software is going to treat that as outside space. So it's going to treat that as exterior wall. Okay, and we don't want that. So this last button here says check close surfaces. You click on that and it will show you any rooms where you might have an issue so that you can say, hey, that doesn't look right. And then you know to fix it. So it's just a little check thing that you can do. We put that back and then we click check close surfaces and everything seems to be fine. Okay, all right. Windows. So windows, you can do windows and doors. Windows are real simple. I'll go ahead and delete this one. You basically find the window dimension on the plans. So this is a 6040. You hit the Alt key and you just drag a window to line up with the floor plan as best as you can. And I was close, 6.38, but I'm going to change that to 6, 4, and I'll say 1 foot down from the top. Actually, this is a 9-foot ceiling. I'll say 2 foot down. And that's how you do it. You can also do multiple windows if you want. If you have a bunch of windows that are all the same size, you just click on it, Control C, and then Control Alt, place, 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 and it places all the same window everywhere. Okay, let me delete those real quick. There we go. And windows can move around on the walls, up and down, or you can set them down here as well. Okay, we also can do triangle windows and multiple windows and so on. Doors, by the way, default to 3068. So you just click on doors, click on it, place it. If you need to change the size, you can certainly do that down here. You can also do garage doors. So you just do alt place, 16 wide by 8 foot high, line it up with the floor plan. Oops, 7 foot high, not 8. Drop it down, and there we go. The garage is shown on here just for looks, really. Uh, these these walls are counted as exterior walls, but I think it looks better to have the garage on there than not. So when you tell it that it's unconditioned, it's not counted in the load calcs or anything, and all these walls are treated as to exteriors, uh, unconditioned space. All right, so we got windows. Now here we go. Duct draw. Let me get lined up here. Go back to front. Duct draw. Registers. So you just place registers here. There are two kinds, and once you place them, you can move them around. And notice that there's a shadow down at the bottom to kind of help you line it up with the floor plan to get it, because there is parallax. That's a good example of parallax here. You can change the register. If you hit tab, it rotates it, but you can also change it to a side entry register. So you'll see here, um, the duct comes in from the side as opposed to straight down from the top. If you click on a wall, it'll place a register on a wall, such as a high sidewall register. Let me put one right here. So there's a high sidewall register. Just delete it to delete it. You could put registers on vaulted ceilings, whatever you need to do. Okay. Air handlers. If you hit Alt, click, it places an air handler. This is the furnace, the red part. The blue part's the coil. The white part is the supply plenum, and the gray part is the return plenum. These are just connection points. Basically, think of those as start collars. They're shown up big like that so that they're easier to click, essentially. Let me put a register right here, a couple registers down, and I'll show you how those work in just a second. Let's see what else. Oh, registers, you can put registers on the floor. So if you have floor registers, you click on it and then put them up from up underneath, and you can run all your ducts in the crawl space. Air handlers. Back to air handlers. You can change the dimension of all of these. This is just a typical size furnace with a sheet metal or ductboard plenum coil. But let's say you're doing a ducted mini split. Those are only about 8 or 9 inches tall, and let's see, let's do here height 8 inches. Whoops, 8 inches tall. You can these inner sections and outer sections. This is an inner section. This is an outer section on the end. If I click on that and hit remove intersection, it takes it away. I can change that to be only 12 inches. I can change this to be nothing or 4 inches, like so. And let's change that to, let's see, 6. And this, I think they're about 24 altogether, so 18 inches. So that right there is basically a ducted mini split air handler. Okay, if that's what you want to do. Let me delete this real quick. Put another one back down here, a more standard one, so you can see it a little bit better. Tab, by the way, rotates it whichever way, and then you can also do upflow and downflow. So this is horizontal. Let's do an upflow, and then you click this move vertically button. So this would be an upflow unit in the garage, and you can obviously change all those if they are not appropriate. All right, there you go. So you could do an upflow if you maybe want to do a downflow in the garage if you had a raised floor house. And there you go. All right, let's see. Chases. If you have a 2-story house with ducts in the garage, or sorry, ducts in the attic, and you need to get from the attic down to the first floor, a chase is just a vertical straight duct, and you just click on where you want it to go, and it puts it in there, and then you can connect the ducts to the top and the bottom, like so. Okay. All right, let's go back to air handler here, and I'll show you how the ducts work. To me, this is the coolest part, the coolest feature. Click on ducts, highlight both the start collar on the plenum and the register, and you hit the enter key, and boom, it draws a duct for you. The default size is 6. You can change that if you say that's an 8-inch duct. There it is. That's an 8-inch duct drawn to scale. Now let's say we need to connect it over to here. We click on that. This handle here, by the way, you can move this stuff. These green handles change the angle that it comes off of the connection point, like so. And then this handle, you can raise the duct, move it any of the direction that the arrows are pointed. If you want to go just the direction of the arrow, you click on the arrow and it'll go just that direction. Or if you click on the handle, it'll go up and down based on this thing I was telling you up here. Okay, so let's say we want to put a TY in here and go from here to here. That's really simple. Select the handle, hit enter, and it puts this big funky looking TY. But you tab it around, it's big, so you can select it easier. It makes it easier to click on. Click on the end, click on the register, hit enter, and boom, there's a duct. Okay. If you want to move the fittings around, click on fittings. You can raise and lower them. You can spin them around. You can change the angle and stuff like that. Okay. Another cool feature is kind of a hidden button. We'll have to put documentation on this. But if you go into ducts, if you click on a duct and you hit the R key, it straightens them out. It takes out any unnecessary bends. These were all pretty straight, but like so. Okay. All right. You can put on this joint here, you can change it to, there's different choices. Hard elbows, a true T, hard elbow 45s, etc. Splice, pants Y, things like that. Okay, doesn't have to be a regular TY. You can put that in. We're working on our hard pipe draw feature. We're also working on rectangular sheet metal ducts. So those should be ready pretty soon. And we'll have tutorials for all that. All right, you can draw a roof. It's mainly just for looks to show people, but it's also very helpful to figure out how much room you have. So we'll have a tutorial video specifically on drawing ducts and things like that. And then let me just show you real quick that you can place a roof on here. Like so, you just kind of drag out the perimeter, drag out the ridge line, and then if you want to raise the ridge line up, like so, and there you go. If you want gable ends, you just get these to line up. Like so, if you want it to be a hip roof, just bring it back like that. And you can put overhangs and things like that on as well. Okay. All right, now that just kind of shows you how much room you have to work with inside your attic. So that's the real benefit of that. And you can turn it off down here by unchecking the roof button and it goes away. And last but not least, the tables. Okay, this is where all the math happens. So when you draw a room, such as this one here, this room has two exposed sides. It has an exposed ceiling and has an exposed floor. And the software calculates all those areas and puts them in a table and sums them up for the entire house. And it keeps track of all of those, which is really important when you want to do your load calculations. Okay, it keeps track of the windows, doors, and everything. And that all lives in the table. So I'll click on the table mode here. And the first table that comes up is windows. And you can see all the different tables. There's one for windows, walls, doors, ceilings, floors, rooms, blocks, and ducts. Okay, so the first one is windows. I've named all these windows on here, and the blocks are automatically named. I've named all the rooms, but it tells you the direction, the azimuth, the tilt, the area, and what is it touching? Is it outside or is it to the garage for some reason? It's kind of odd for windows, but it could be. Then walls. There's a whole bunch of walls. So let me get the little house over here where you can see it. This is a cool feature that if you want to make sure that this little wall right here was counted in the takeoffs, click on it, it's highlighted, and it will also highlight in the table. So it's 16 square feet. I believe it's 16 by 1, so it's 16 square feet. So if you click on any wall in here, This wall is highlighting because it's to the garage, and you'll see it's an unconditioned, it's adjacent to an unconditioned wall or the garage. And you can just start at the top and just cursor right down, and all the walls will highlight on the drawing as you cursor down the table. And that's a good way to check and make sure that they're all there. You can also click on them and make sure they're in the table. Same thing for windows and ceilings and everything. Let's go to the rooms. So in rooms, this is your airflow portion. So what this is from a room by room load calculation, you get your percent airflow for each room, and if you put it in here, remember when we in the info tab we had the total airflow. So it's going to take 1,000 CFM and it's going to distribute it based on those percentages, and those percentages come from your room by room load calcs. So you take the load calc for a room divided by the total and you get a percentage, and you put that number here. The reason it's better to do that is because if you ever were to change your airflow from 1200 CFM, it would automatically distribute based on these proportions right here. Okay. Then we go to, I'm going to jump over to ducts here. And this is a pretty cool feature also. So it has all your supply branches and all your supply trunks. So a duct that goes out to a register is considered a branch, and a duct that splits into other ducts is considered a trunk. So if I click on this one right here, notice how it highlights here and it highlights in the table. That's supply trunk number 2. There's 150 CFM going through it, and it's an 8-inch duct. It's 9 feet long, and the velocity is 430 feet per second. And it is also attached to another trunk, supply trunk 1, which is this one. Okay, so if you want to know about the branches, click on a branch. It tells you the room that it's serving, the airflow, the diameter, the length, and the velocity, the register size that it's attached to. By the way, you can change all the register sizes. I forgot to mention that if you want to. Okay, return branches, return trunks if you have a more elaborate return system. On this one, I just did one return. I normally put a return in the master bedroom, but I didn't do it on this one. But I could really quick just to show you. Let's do that real quick. So let's go to Duct Draw. Let's say I want to put a return. So here's the master suite back here. Here's the door to the master suite. Let's say I want to put a return right inside that door. So I click registers. I'll click, let's say it's a 20 by 20. 20 by 20. And we're going to connect a return. Let's go from click on ducts. Go from here to here, hit enter, and we can do the auto size, but let's say it's a 12-inch duct. There we go. Looks like it's a little close to that other one. Move those around, get them a little situated here, so they're not on top of each other. And there you go. The other thing too, you can show the diameters. So you can see it shows all the duct diameters for the various ducts. If you look down from the top, they all line up right on top of the ducts. So if you were to print this out, say hit 2D view and print this out, that's a reasonable duct layout that you can hand to somebody and they can use to size the ducts and put everything in there. Okay. All right. Well, that's about it. I hope you learned something from here. And oh, I forgot to mention that when you do the north arrow, so if I go here, look at walls, this particular wall is on the front of the house. Nope, it's on the back of the house. And it happens to be facing north, this little wall here. So if I go in and move the north arrow over here, I gotta click out, click back in. It is now on the west, so it moved accordingly. All right, that's about it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, give us a call. Be sure to watch the other tutorial videos, specifically on, we'll do one on how to import and scale a floor plan. We'll do one on field draw. We'll do one on placing rooms and vaulted ceilings and windows. and things like that. And then of course we'll do one on all the duct draw features. All right, thanks very much. Have a great day.